So let's go into the last list we're going to go over this week in performance from Joe Guzowski. So I think Joe's actually been on the channel, presented a couple times. So show where you at, Joe? Where you at, dude? Shout out. What's up? Show up. Let's hear from you. You know, you're doing great all the time. So I always find you. I think I always recognize you because you always tell your army the bad moons. I'm pretty sure. And if I'm tripping, then I'm sorry. There's a lot of homies that come. So Joe was at a Free State GT in the United States. So it wasn't the biggest event. They still only had about 33 players, I think it was. So still good event. Let's take a shout out here and look at his list because I think it was a fun one. We have the Big Mech in Mega Armor. Another Big Mech in Mega Armor. Snikrot. Mazrog's Crackback, War Boss with Super Cyborg Body, and another War Boss. Truck, Battle Wagon, and a Deffdread. Let's go for the Deffdread, boy. You always got to get a whoa whenever you bring a Deffdread to a GT and end up going 4-on-1. Kind of crazy get are you. 1 unit of Gretchen, and then he also brought Kommandos. Yeah, boys, what's up? Keep talking about the Mandos. We covered 2 lists that have Mandos from 2 different weeks. So what's up? Everybody was making fun of me saying Mandos were good, and then here we're at, guys. Here we are. I see these things. I predict these things. No, I'm not Conor McGregor fan. I just want to do that. All right. So we have Meganobz, 2 Meganobz units. What I really like is this cool combo where people are bringing 3 power claws and 2 twin kill saws, or 3 twin kill saws and 2 power claws. I like that. They're like, you know what? I kind of want to have tools for both. I want to have more reliable AP and damage into something and reroll wounds, but then I also want to have more attack so I don't get bogged down so easily. Then he brought this not 2 knob units, but what's interesting is he split them up between power claws and big choppas. So you have 5 and 5, and then 2 Stormboy units. So this guy was all about switching up his war gear, being off the wall, being different. He even decided to bring super shooters. He brought a rocket. He brought the burner. So this guy was all about the war gear. This guy was all about doing all the cool Orky stuff. So I appreciate it. And of course, with the Big Mechs and Mega Armor, these guys, I gave them up a while ago because so many people in my meta are teched for killing custodes and 3 wound models. So I'm always very interested when people make these work so proficiently. I know sometimes you'll just tail them out and kind of bait people into shooting them and not necessarily use them for their full durability. But they don't have like great OC or reliable damage output. So I always get super interested in that. Interesting that he used 2. So let's see what he went into for this, right? He ended up going into Salamanders for his first matchup, Firestorm. He has the Apothecary, Vulcan Heat Stand. So Vulcan's here to do the real damage. We have the Assault Intercessor, an Aggressor Squad, 2 Aggressor Squads. So I really like when you have a bigger one, obviously, to take advantage of Vulcan. Blade Guard Veteran, another Blade Guard Veteran Squad, Eradicators, Land Raider Crusader, another Land Raider Crusader, right? We know the Redeemers will most likely be a little better for this detachment. Only 1 Redemptor Dreadnought, a Repulsor Executioner. So not the most efficiently put together list. This is one of those things that they want to close a distance on Orks to get their detachment rules, and then once they do, they kind of get crumped up. So shout out to Joe for putting 100 up on that get. Let's take a look at his second game, which is actually the game he lost, which is into Leagues of Voltan. And as you've seen at the beginning of the stream with the faction versus faction, this is our second most losing matchup. So this is the faction we lose the second most to. Death Guard is the worst, and then this one is the second hardest matchup for us. So we have an Iron-Haired Champion, another Iron-Haired Champion, and then the Grimnir. We'll go over their data sheets and stuff in a second because I want to point out this stuff. We have the Hearthguard Warriors. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sagittars. Let's go. So he brought back all the Sagittars. Hey. A Brocade Thunder King, Berserkers, a Hearthguard unit, that's their version of Terminators, followed by 3 Pioneers, and you need nothing else. So no land fortresses, only 1 unit of Terminators. I can appreciate this list. Very, very annoying, very, very troublesome. But and you know what? He had Mandos in this list and he still lost it. And I'm not saying, oh, that's it. I think, it's a difficult matchup, even if you have the tool of the Mandos, because he has so many Sagittars. Let me take a look at some of the things that I wanted to point out here. So one thing I want to point out that I think is only kind of slipped on by Orc players because I never hear them talk about it or know, but I just want to let you all know that this can possibly happen. As these Berserkers, for the most part, you look at the Berserkers, and when you see the Berserkers, you're like, oh, these guys can punch. They're not super reliable because sometimes people bring the profiles where they hit on 4s. If they bring the ones that's the axes, I think axes at least give a more reliable output. What I really wanted to point out to Orc players, just so they know, you know, because I had this play against me wrong before, but it's also important that it's actually a real rule, is that this small grenade launcher with its blast indirect, sorry, I don't mean to do that, with the blast indirect actually gives you a reduction of mobility. So it says subterranean explosives in your shooting phase. After this unit has shot, select one enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, that was hit by one or more of this unit's small grenade launchers. In this phase, roll a d6 on a 4+ until the end of your opponent's next turn. That enemy is shaken. While that unit is shaken, subtract 2 from its move characteristics, subtract 2 from its advance, and charges. So there's a chance that once they disembark your truck, that they can try to indirect fire you with these berserkers and then reduce your mobility there too. So of course that could be a factor as well in this matchup. So keep that in mind. I had to play it against me before. Oops, I pulled it. I had that list pulled. I had this pulled up against me before, and the guy just, whenever he shot at me, he tried to put that ability on me. Make sure they roll for it. That's all I wanted to point out. As for this list and its characters, right? So we have the Iron Heated Champion, which he's the one who's going to be with the Hearthguard Terminators. What's really important is that he has the Grim Demeanor enhancement. That way he can ignore modifiers, as you can see here. He'd ignore any and all modifiers, excluding the saving throws. So he's ignoring Art as Nails and -1 to wound, and from the built-in one from the War Boss and the knobs. And then also, you know, he can reroll charges for that unit. So I just wanted to pull that out as well so people understand what he's doing on the list. Oops, I pulled. But the other thing is with these 6 transports, right? 3 Zerkers getting in 3 of those, Thunderkin getting in 1 of those, and then 1 warrior unit getting 1 of those, and then 1 of these champions, possibly this one, with no people getting in, you know, with no enhancements. So he's probably not going with anybody. Then go in another one. While this Grimnir is going to go with the warriors, and then he's going to give a player in Graze glare, appraising glare. That way they get more battle tokens on them. So it's one of those things that, like, first of all, he has a bunch of transports, so he can automatically move up, get in the way, delay you, come in from deep strikes wherever he wants, score a bunch of points because his bikes are coming in and out of the table. The Sagittars are super odd toughness at toughness 10, which sucks for Orks. We hate that we're at strength 9. GW, stop it. Put us back at strength 10. But also Sagittars is tough for what they are. And they have great offensive profiles for shooting, at least into Orks, followed by the fact that you're not getting good trades for killing them, and they're just coming down where they want with their board presence. We like to put the board presence. We like to put the pressure, like I always say. So this kind of list puts the pressure on us and puts the volume of shots on us, which definitely sucks. So I can understand why he lost that one. Difficult matchup there. No shame in that, Joe. So his third matchup is Necron, Hypercrypt Lead. We have the Catan Shard, the Nightbringer, Emotech, the Stormlord, Hexmark Destroyer, Locust Destroyer, or Locust Lord, a Scorpec Lord, and a Transcendent Catan. So this has a bunch of characters that are not the ones you typically see, because you usually see a bunch of Catans. So we have Emotech the Stormlord chilling here, a Scorpec Lord, and then 2 Catans. Interesting. 1 Immortal unit, some Scorpec Destroyers, some Locust Destroyers, 2 units of Scorpec Destroyers, 1 with the Gauss Cannon, the other one with the Heavy Gas Destructor, Tomb Blades, a Reanimator, and a Monolith. Yeah, I think this list is not put together the most efficiently, at least not going into Orks. But, you know, that guy definitely had an idea of what he was doing, because he's still playing Hypergrip, he still had a Monolith, he was still moving around trying to steal objectives and be annoying with all those tricky characters. But really, you don't have enough killing potential on that list to keep Orks off you once they do close the distance on you. So shout out to Joe for crumping that kit, because everybody likes to see Orks bam some crush some Necrons. So his 4th game was against Bam Bam Hunter, which was another Hypercrypt Legion. See what I mean? But this guy went a little bit more understand what I understand. He had a Catan of the Nightbringer, a Void Dragon, a Hexmark Destroyer, because everybody likes these little free Overwatch boys, a Silent King with the Transcendent Catan. So what's really important here for you to know is the Silent King is essentially there to allow these Catans to ignore modifiers when you're an Orc player. Yeah, definitely hate to see that. Canoptic Scarabs, 2 of them. 2 Doom Arcs, 3 Doom Arcs, a bit pricey. You earlier in the stream we went over the Doomstalkers, and they're like 135, and they have some anti-tank firepower too, so that's cool too. I think these guys are a bit pricey. And then a unit of Locust Destroyers. So this is very much on the cusp of being very, very annoying, but 3 Catans is just enough Catans for us to handle and or out OC and play the mission for. Doom Orks are definitely not easy to kill, but they're not easy, you know, putting out their damage return either. So great job by Joe for taking that out. That takes you to understand what's happening here. You know, instead of just being scared, you can go out there, play the mission, dissect 2 of the Cthans if you can, and then keep playing the mission and sticking to the basics when you're going into a list like that doesn't have a lot of activations and units and high OC for the most part, because I only had 1 troop unit and there was 5-man unit. And then his last game, which is very interesting because he only got 53 points. But you can see here, Isaiah Norton, who was in 6th place, got 54 points also. So it might just be that, you know, it was kind of not the best scoring mission. I'm not really sure. But hey, you know, who knows? So last game, he went into World Eaters. So we have Angron, Lord Avocatus, World Eaters, and Juggernaut, favorite of Corn. This is the triple characters I think is best. 1 Jackal, 1 basic unit of 8-bound, followed by 3 units of 8-bound, one of them being a max size unit, 2 Chaos Bond, here we go, and 2 Brigands. So this guy's still trying to hold on to the old archetype of what they were doing, and this is actually quite strong when you had triple Brigands, right? 1 less Brigand does make a difference, because that 1 last Brigand can be used to OC people, can be used to throw away and draw bait, can be used to help pop transports, all types of weird little things. So this guy's very much trying to stick to the old archetype of World Eaters, and I think he, you know, most likely would be better off with the list we went over prior that had 3 units of each data sheet of 8-bound, and more Jackals and just stuff like that, and Chaos Spawn just for more units. So I think that was the most potent version I've seen of World Eaters since the data slate, besides the Lord of Skulls. Because here we can still fight on death against this, and I can see that why they probably played slower is because this is one of those things where you have to be very cagey and pre-measure and stage and very complex fight phase, and you know, it's just very much we don't know the mission either. So great job by Joe for hanging out and crumping that World Eater get, that power armor get. Whoa, for Joe again. So shout out to Joe, keeping the Orks up and strong last week when our win rate was only 39%. So great job, Joe, because you weren't one of those gets that was 39% win rate. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!